What's going on, everyone? Thank you for clicking on this video, and I'm hoping that I can give you a whole bunch of great information today on this bike right here. It's the all-new 2022 Cyrusher Kommoda bike, 20x4 fat tire bike, 750 watt rear hub motor, and it comes in three colors: the blue, orange, and white. Now, full disclosure, this bike is here courtesy of Cyrusher. I did not purchase the bike. They sent me this so I could ride and test and put some information out on YouTube, share my ride experience with all of you. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm thinking maybe you're here because this bike has caught your eye online, right? And you are wanting to know just some of the basic specs right up front. I'm going to hit you with a whole bunch of those right at the beginning of this video, maybe save you some time if you can find what you're looking for quickly. So here we go. You ready? This is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery pack, 750 watt rear hub motor, peaks much higher, probably closer to 1,000. Has full hydraulic brakes, full suspension, front and back, 20x4 inch tires. The step through height is 15 inches. Handlebars are 27 3/4 inch wide. They're nice and wide, gives you a lot of control of the bike. What else? The seat heights, 31.5 inches, minimum seat height. Fantastic. Not many bikes go that low. Very accessible to a lot of folks. The high point, I think, is 41 inches. I don't know who rides a bike that high, but it does go that high. What else? The bike weighs 72 pounds, at least on my scale. That's right in line with most fat tire bikes. And the payload capacity is 330 pounds. And finally, I'll put the purchase price on the screen so you know how much this little guy is going to set you back. Now, those are some of the basic stats, but I'm of course going to show you this bike up close so you can get a really good look at it. And then I'll talk about it as we go, and I'll talk about the performance and then also things I think you might need to know or things I learned while riding it. So let's go. So here is the 2022 Kommoda bike from Cyrusher. Interesting name and equally interesting frame design. I have not seen an e-bike that looks like this yet. It's a very cool, unique design. I'm a big fan of it. It's very accessible for a lot of people. It's got a low step through and it's got a really low seat height. So that means a bunch of people can ride this bike, which I think is fantastic. Now, I will of course put a link to the bike below so you can find it easily, but you know, it's just a link. It's not tied or tracked to me in any way, so I don't get anything if you buy one. I just really hope that this video helps you to decide if the Kommoda is a match for what you're looking for. But let's start taking a look at the bike up close, and I'll just tell you about my experience with it as we go. So this one's got 20x4 fat tires, big, fat, chunky tires on there, which is a great look. People love the fat tire look. And the other thing I hear a lot is that people like the wide footprint of the fat tires. It makes them feel more confident, more stable, taking the bike across various terrains. So very cool. Fat tires on the Kommoda, blue rims to match the blue paint on the frame. Very eye-catching bike. That blue is super bright. I hope it comes through on camera. The bike does not have a quick release front wheel. It's an axle that goes all the way through, and it's got hydraulic disc brakes. There's Zoom hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter disc on there. Great brakes, plenty of stopping power. You can lock up the wheels anytime you want. I was very happy with the brakes on it. Another eye-catching feature of the Kommoda bike is these double crown front forks. And that's something that Cyrusher uses on their XF 900 bike as well. It's a super unique look. You don't see a lot of e-bikes out there with the double crown front fork. Makes it look a little bit more heavy duty, I guess, or more motorcycle inspired, but it's definitely a unique look, and I'm really glad they chose it here for the Kommoda bike. The fork does have adjustment knobs here on the top, so you can dial it into the setting you want, and it seemed to do a good job of soaking up the bumps. It worked well for me. This bike also comes standard with front and rear fenders. Cyrusher always does an interesting job with their fenders. They tend to put this glossy pinstripe or racing stripe down the center of it. I think it makes it look a little bit cooler, and I do like these fenders in the sense that they're a little bit shorter than normal. A lot of times you'll see that fender wrap all the way down to here, and then there's a wire that goes and attaches to the fork, and it's this big huge wraparound fender. These are a little bit shorter, and I like this look better. I think it looks a little bit sportier. And you have a similar style fender on the back. It is a little bit shorter and has that racing stripe going down the center of it. I think they did a good job on the fenders. The bike also comes standard with this rear rack. It is detachable if you wanted to take it off. I don't know why you would. It's super convenient and handy. And it's really wide and big. It's a big rack. It's 8 inches wide and it's 16.5 inches long. So a nice big sturdy rack on the bike. So the rear rack comes standard. You do not have any mounting hardware up here for a front basket, so you're going to be putting all your cargo onto the rear rack. Now the Kommoda comes with headlight and taillight. So here's the headlight, and it functions off of this push button right here up on the handlebars. And you also get a taillight on this Cyrusher bike. This is the first Cyrusher bike I've had that had a taillight. I've been on 4 other Cyrusher bikes. None of them had a taillight. This is the first one. So thank you, Cyrusher. Thank you. Thank you for providing that. I like having a taillight. It's also a brake light, so it functions as both. You know, when you pull the brake, the center of the light lights up. It's nice and bright. It's a good taillight. And I'm really happy to see that they made that change. I hope they kind of, you know, start doing that on all of their bikes. It's just very handy to have, so when, you know, you're riding with a couple other people, they know when you're braking. If we walk around back up to the front, you can see the wire management. They did a really good job here. They got this like neoprene Velcro thing here holding all the wires together, and they're also tied with these wire tie things. And I mean, there's just a lot of wires on e-bikes. It's hard to manage them all. I think they did a pretty good job. This is really the only spot they're exposed. They go into the frame right here, and then you really don't see them anywhere else on the rest of the bike. So good job on the wire management. Now we can start taking a look at the controls up here on the handlebars. And again, they are 27 3/4 inches wide. They're nice and wide. They feel great. There's an adjustable handlebar stem here, so you can match it to your ride position that you want. And truthfully, I was having a tough time with this. This was loosening up on me. You know, when I'm out riding this bike, I'm trying to wheelie it, and I'm jumping off of curbs, and I'm probably putting a lot more pressure on those handlebars than most people riding this bike. So it was trying to loosen up on me. So I might swap that out to something that doesn't have that adjustment, just so it's perfectly rigid. That's like a $15, $20 part, takes 2 minutes to do. So you could always do the same if you found yourself in the same situation. For the hand grips, they've got these locking rubber grips that, you know, there's this lock ring here and here. You loosen it with an Allen wrench if you want to take it off. I really like this style. I like the rubber as opposed to the leather, and I like the ones that have the locking rings. They're very easy to take off and on if you do want to swap them out or change them or move them at all and reposition them. So I really like these grips. And you have a twist throttle on your right hand. Fantastic. I know people are a big fan of the twist throttle. 7-speed Shimano shifter, same mechanism they use on a lot of the e-bikes. And again, you've got hydraulic brakes, Zoom hydraulic brakes. And over on this side, you've got your button for your headlight, your horn, and then the menu and pedal assist buttons right there. All right, I moved over to the shades so we can see the screen a little better. You hold the mode button to turn it on, and we've got King Meter, that's the name of the display. And you can see it's a nice looking full color display. So much appreciated. Thank you, Cyrusher. You know, everyone right now is walking around with basically a computer in their pocket. So I really feel like your $2,000 e-bike should have a decent looking color display. And this is a nice one. It's the first time I've seen this King Meter display, but it looks good. It's easy to read, gives you all the info you need. And it's a pretty easy screen to program as well. If you want to change any of the settings in there, I believe you just hold the up and down together for a few seconds and it'll take you into the display settings. So you use the mode button on the bottom to select and the up and down to toggle through. So if we go, I'll go into the display really quick. So you can change your wheel size, you can do the speed limit, background setting, the units you want to display everything in. I'll go back to the speed limit just so you can see it, and then you hit mode to select it. And I've got it set at 99 miles an hour. Sadly, it doesn't go that fast, but it's really easy to navigate through here, so that's good. You don't have to have a huge big manual to figure everything out. And then to get out, you just hold the mode key down for a few seconds and it slowly backs you out of everything. And we're back to the start. So it's got a good display screen. We can talk about the battery now. It's 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery. It's right here, integrated into the frame. A lot of bikes are starting to use that style now where it's integrated in the frame like that. Sometimes they pop out the front here by the wheel, sometimes the back like this one, sometimes the side. I prefer either this one or the side. The wheel one, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. You got the fender and the wheel in the way, but it's easy to pop that in and out. But that's a pretty standard size battery pack for an e-bike. And you know, as far as the range, that's gonna vary on your weight and the terrain you're on and how much you use the throttle. So it's pretty hard for me to give you a number there. And the step through height again is 15 inches from the ground to right here. And there's a nice wide gap here. I was worried that the suspension was going to be in the way of the step through, and it's really not. This is really wide to get your foot through there. It's really easy to get off and on this bike. The front chainring is nice and big. I'll put the size up on the screen for you. And it's got a double-sided aluminum guard on there. That looks really good. The pedals are a plastic folding pedal. I'm not sure why they put these pedals on here. I like the metal pedals much better. This is not a folding bike, so I'm not sure why they went with folding pedals, but that's what you've got on there. For the rear suspension, this was fantastic. I loved the rear suspension on this bike. It was very cushy ride. I like that. If you've ever watched any of my videos, I talk about that all the time of, you know, some bikes the suspension is so stiff I can't spring it at all, and I don't really feel the comfort. Not the case with this one. I weigh 180 pounds. I was able to spring this very easily. It was nice and squishy. And I'm gonna say this about the rear suspension. So it was real soft for me at 180. If you were 250 or higher, this might be too soft for you. And the same thing if you're 100 pounds, maybe it's not, you know, squishy enough. So what I like is that they've given you the mechanics of a rear suspension, because you can change this out. It's pretty hard to put one shock in here that is going to be a fit for every single rider. So I'm just happy that you've got the rear suspension, you know, mechanics here, and you can change this shock out to whatever you want. I've done that before on a bike. They're really easy to change out. You just pull this pin up here and this pin here, and it slides right out. You know, measure the distance between the two. You buy a shock that fits that. I think the shock I bought on the other bike was like 50 bucks, and it changed the ride quality dramatically. It was a good change. So it's great that the suspension components are there. You can always change that shock out to something that fits your ride style better. All right, let's talk about the seat. Cyrusher uses some of the best seats. I really like this seat. I almost always like their seats. They're big, soft, cushy foam seats with springs in them. You know, I usually on every other bike I change the seat out to something like this, but it's great they just give it to you right up front. So nice, soft, squishy foam seat. And again, the seat goes really low. It goes down to 31.5 inches off the ground. That's really low. And I had Mrs. Citizen try the bike, of course, to see if she can ride it at 5'3", and she had no issue at all. It fit her great. And she was pretty excited to take this bike for a ride. This is one of the few bikes where she's actually come up to me and said, hey, let me take that new bike for a ride. I think she got captured by the full suspension. Once she sat on it and felt it, you know, compress and absorb, I think that hooked her. So she was a big fan of this one. But finishing off the components here, inside the back wheel is your 750 watt rear hub motor. And it may say 750, but I'm sure it's peaking much higher than that. I think on the display screen I saw it at like 950, maybe a little higher. So you're getting some really good power out of this Kommoda bike. You know, I took it out and ran it up to top speed on the throttle only. I think I hit around 27, 28 miles an hour maybe, throttle only, no pedaling. Then I added in pedaling. I think I gained maybe another mile or two per hour. So some great speed out of the bike. I took it over to my hill climb, where I test all the bikes on the same hill and time it to see who goes up the hill the fastest. And this was pretty quick. This was near the top of the pack. I don't think was number one. The fastest bike I think ever went up the hill at like 22 seconds. This one was, I think, around maybe 24-ish. So some good strong power out of this motor. I also took it over to another hill that's like double the steepness. I tested another bike there the other day, and it barely made it. So I tested the Kommoda in that same spot. It's up to like an 18% grade going up that hill, and I want to see if this could make it, and it did. It was really slow, but it made it. It had the torque to get me up that hill, not pedaling at all. It was all motor power, all bike power up that really steep hill. So I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed with the power out of this Kommoda bike. It's definitely one of the more powerful fat tire bikes. All right, well, that is my breakdown of the Cyrusher Kommoda bike, but what do you think? Put in the comments. Is there something they could do better, or did they hit the mark on this one? I'm sure they would love to read your feedback. I'm digging this bike a lot. I mean, if I had to sum it up in 3 things, I would say it's got good power, it's very comfortable, and it's very accessible. I mean, someone 5 feet tall to 6'5" could probably ride this bike, which is something you can't say for every e-bike out there. But if you got questions on this bike, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them if I know the answer. And check out Cyrusher's website. They got a lot of different e-bike offerings. Thank you to Cyrusher for providing this bike so I could do this video. And if you like e-bike information like this, do me a favor, consider hitting subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you so much for watching.